hey, long time no see. It's like
boy.
we just saw you less than 12 hours ago, when the whole Max Crosby deal fell apart. That was crazy, huh?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was something.
A lot of fun.
And since that point last night, we have learned a good amount of a little extra details. One, the Ravens have signed Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year deal. They had that ready to go. Seemed like that was going to be the next course of action after they backed out of the Crosby trade. Two, we've had Max Crosby's agent come out and say that he's recovering just fine. We've had Max Crosby's surgeon come out and say, yeah, no, he's progressing as thought. He's going through the entire program. We've also heard that there were numerous teams that talked to Max Crosby's surgeon, including the Baltimore Ravens, before making that trade. So they should have been aware of what was going on and still decided to make that trade until they didn't. And yeah, free agency. This is something.
Yeah, so they back out of the Crosby deal, and then they almost immediately signed Trey Hendrickson, as everybody was guessing and projecting. And it feels like, in my opinion, the Ravens signed Crosby on a Friday. Tampering window opens up Monday.
Yep.
They lose 7 of their players right away. And they go, oh, shit. We actually need that first round draft pick this year. We need it next year. We did not intend on losing all these players. We were able to re-sign nobody. But they still, I think, at that time would have lived with, paying for Crosby because you're getting a very good player.
Sure.
Also, the Trey Hendrickson contract value started to come down because nobody signed Trey Hendrickson. Nobody still signed Trey Hendrickson. So, we've got a replacement we think is comparable to Crosby where we don't have to give up draft picks. Also, they didn't do their medical in-house evaluation until Tuesday. So I think it's also fair to say that their team doctor could have had a slightly different opinion on Max's long-term prognosis.
Sure.
I don't think this is really about Max being able to play this upcoming season. I think it's, for them, the risk of the draft picks and the possibility, and this is stupid because any player can get hurt and it can be a horrific injury at any moment.
Sure.
But I think they're justifying it to themselves by saying the long term, the medium term, the prognosis there, we don't love it. We're going to get out of this trade because we don't have to do it. If our medical team doesn't clear him, there's nothing the Raiders can do either at this point for ramifications. We were asking that question last night, but they can't do it.
No. I mean, and now it does seem, so reports were like, apparently Crosby's going to be content staying with Vegas and just that's where his mindset was at. That's what was reported this morning, which we talked about this a little bit last night as we were going through potential scenarios of what this fallout is going to look like. And Crosby with the Raiders now, with all the additional free agents that they got, I'm saying that defense might look pretty darn good. So the fact that they were able to get Linderbaum too, and all these signings will become official today when free agency actually opens and the new season and new year actually starts. But yeah, this just feels like what a freaking saga. I have a feeling that this is not going to go away for a hot minute. And I'm very curious just about the Ravens in general, especially now that you've had, because this is what we were wondering last night. Okay, are we ever going to find out what the Ravens saw, what have you? And instead, what we've gotten so far is, Crosby's agent, which there's obviously a bias there, but then his surgeon coming out and saying no, he's actually progressing as expected. And considering the Ravens had talked to his surgeon before then, this wasn't some unknown thing, unless the Ravens literally picked up the phone and were like, we want to trade for Max Crosby, and then found out, when Crosby was in Baltimore, oh, you got surgery when? And they just completely missed that in the news feed. That's the only way that they did not know about this.
We were busy hiring a new coach. We did not see that.
Yeah, things were a little busy right now. But now going and signing Trey Hendrickson, I feel like this
for the exact same base contract that Max Crosby has, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
like nearly identical base salary.
I mean, they already had the paperwork. They probably just crossed out the name. We're just like, whoop, let's just put this here.
They initial it and then just put Trey.
Yep, that's all. And I mean, I feel like regardless of how people view the Ravens now, and like if there's going to be anything that comes from this except just bad vibes, I don't feel good about the Ravens just because I like Trey Hendrickson. Don't get me wrong, but he's an older player.
He'll be 32 by the end of the season.
Right? He's an older player. They signed him to a 4-year deal. And on top of that, you know, he's had some injury concerns as well. I'm sure he's going to be very motivated to play against the Bengals. Like, that's definitely going to be something. But yeah, there is a difference in Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson in terms of like my outlook for the Ravens, right? When they lost Linderbaum, I was like, okay, but they have a younger pass rusher than a Trey Hendrickson. And like, all right, you think that he's going to be a monster for a bit and he's also going to help in the run game. But Trey is definitely going to help as a pass rusher. It's just this does not move the needle because I feel like they've lost more than they've gained. Like they're going to have to nail this draft.
Yeah. And no offense to Trey, but you take Max Crosby on his best day versus Trey Hendrickson on his best day, and Crosby's better. Crosby's a more complete player than Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is more a singular pass rushing type edge player compared to Crosby, who really does everything well. And you know, I mean that if I'm saying it about a fucking Raider, okay? The guy is very good.
Very good.
The one question, like, who do you think actually has a better season in 2026? Trey Hendrickson on the Ravens or Max Crosby on the Raiders and or maybe another team?
Well, I mean, Crosby, that's the thing. You want another pass rusher right there in Vegas, you know, to kind of complement him. So you're not just having Max Crosby being the only one who's blocked. But yeah, I feel like Crosby's going to have a little chip on his shoulder.
I think he'll be extra motivated. And Crosby plays through, you know, like he plays through injuries. He played through that knee injury for a month and a half last year. I don't think there's any question about like his toughness, which makes it look a little bit worse for the Ravens, you know, as well. And I think like if you are looking at the risk of each player just as a player without the draft capital, I think Trey Hendrickson is a more risky player to sign.
I agree with that.
Because he is 32, because he had an abdominal injury where he missed half of last season. So, like, if you're just player to player, if I'm betting on a guy to play more snaps over the next 3 seasons, I'm taking Max Crosby.
Sure.
But
happy birthday,
Crosby was coming with the, you know, relinquishing of 2 first-round draft picks.
Which is a lot.
Yes.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot when you lose all the players that they lost. Suddenly you got more holes to fill than you were anticipating.
Yeah. Yeah. All-Star, hope you have a great day. It's just, we'll see what if Crosby gets moved at right this second. It doesn't look like that is the case, but who knows? Because apparently as soon as this fell through, there were multiple teams that were calling the Raiders, and the Raiders were like, all right, we're going to take a little bit of a beat, but there's teams that are still interested in Max Crosby. So we may see Max Crosby traded twice in the same offseason. But it looks like right now they're kind of staying put. And it's just it's a wild story, man.
We just watched a rarity in Minkah Fitzpatrick getting traded by the same team twice. Technically, Crosby could top that and do it in the same offseason.
Yep.
If Max Crosby isn't traded within like the next, I feel like there's a window here, like 48-hour window, because it has to be a team that has both the cap space and the draft capital to move him. And teams are going to continue to hit this second and third wave of free agency. And it's really hard to say like how we should be addressing our needs as an organization if we haven't made a decision to try and acquire a guy of Crosby's stature.